folks, welcome back to My Kitten Reads. I'm Eleanor and this is my October reading wrap up in which I read 13 things. I'm a little late in getting it done. I was going to do it on the weekend, but I was also writing my final essay of the year on the weekend, so I was a bit distracted. But yes, I read 13 things. Part of that is because I had readathon in October, and part of that is also because I finished off some Hugo reading in October. The Hugo Award voting closes in about a week and a half. And I've still got some things I kind of want to try and finish off, but I have at least finished all the short fiction categories, so which is usually my bare minimum. Yes, I know, I was supposed to do more this year, and I have done a little bit more this year, but I haven't actually finished off any other categories. Anyway, October. What did I read in October? It started off by finishing Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. This was for uni. Didn't like it. Sorry, Dickens fans, but I found it depressing and boring and just not, I wasn't interested in the characters at all. And you know me, I'm a character-based reader, so Dickens, didn't really like it. I then read Riot Baby by, and I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong, Toshi Onibuchi, which is a novella from the Hugo list. Not my thing. Like, I can see that it was very well written. It was very dark. It was a novel about a pair of black children, one who was born in the midst of a race riot, and they both end up having powers. And they moved to New York as children, and even despite his trying, the younger child, the son, ends up being pulled into gang activity, possibly unfairly arrested, I think. But it was very much an exploration of black people's relationships with power and institutions and that kind of thing, and freedom. So it was very dark, as would be expected. Not quite my thing, though, like I said, I could see that it was very well constructed. So I think a worthy Hugo nominee. It didn't interest me very much. Well, I mean, it wasn't that it didn't interest me. I didn't connect with it at all. But then I don't think it was really written for me. Then I switched from that to The Return of the Native by Thomas Hardy. Also for uni, because I would never actually voluntarily pick up a Hardy book after my horrible experience with Test of the D'Urbervilles when I was a teenager, which was also an assigned reading, by the way. Wasn't quite as dire as I was expecting, but also really wasn't for me. It was basically, he's obsessed with the landscape. There's being a descriptive writer, and there's obsession, and this is, whoa, very dull. Also, it was like a love quartet, at least, possibly even a quintet, and I just don't like, that's not a trope I'm particularly fond of, to be honest. I don't like those games in my romances, so yeah. Wasn't impressed with Thomas Hardy, didn't think I would be. Then I had a much better read, which was Upright Women Wanted by Sarah Galey. Again, novella for the Hugo Awards. I've always quite enjoyed the Sarah Galey fiction that I've read. This one was a dystopian America, in which a young girl runs away to join the traveling librarians, because she's aware that she's a lesbian, but her girlfriend, her best friend, has already been hung for having unapproved materials, and her father was looking to marry her off to her best friend's former husband, who was terrible. So she runs away to join the traveling librarians, only to discover that there were also a pair of lesbians who are secretly distributing unapproved materials and smuggling various queer people to safe places. So it's all a bit Wild West, and there are lesbian librarian freedom fighters. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I really quite enjoyed Upright Women Wanted. I would thoroughly recommend it. Then I read the final novel of my uni semester, Kim by Rudyard Kipling, which also was not as terrible as I was expecting. Still didn't particularly like it very much. Didn't connect with the character. But it wasn't as horrendously outright racist as I was expecting, given that it's an early 20th century novel about India. Oh, I mean, it's still racist because it's colonial, and as far as I'm concerned, you can't really have something colonialism is essentially racist because the whole thing about colonialism is that it's dispossessing the original inhabitants, and I have very strong feelings about that. You might have realized. But yes, it wasn't as outright horrendous as I was expecting. Still not really a book for me. I mean, honestly, most of the novels this semester weren't really for me, apart from Persuasion, which I already know because Jane Austen, and I already love. And I liked Jane Eyre more than I thought I would. But the rest of the novels were, not for me, and there was an awful lot of poetry. So I haven't included any of the poetry in my wrap-ups or anything because they're just individual poems, not actually like collections or anything. But there was a lot of 18th and 19th century poetry. A lot. Yes. So then I actually read Kim all in one in the first half of readathon, which then meant I went and reread a couple of graphic novels, which were Check Please Book 1 #hockey and Check Please Book 2 Sticks and Scones. I love these. You know I love these. It's my gay pie baking hockey player. He's beautiful. But yes, I reread both those. So that means I actually read a total of 3 queer-centered things between those two and the skit Sarah Galey. So that's good for my goals. Then I went through and read the 4 short stories on the Hugo list that I had not yet read. There were a couple of Uncanny Magazine ones that I had read. So The Mermaid, Astronaut by Yoon Hali, which I quite liked, which was essentially about a mermaid who is named after the stars, and when a interstellar ship comes to their planet, she wants to go, and so she makes a deal with the sea witch to go out and be a crew member on this ship and see the stars. And in the end, she comes home because she realizes what's important. But yes, so it's sort of a play on The Little Mermaid, but nicer. And the witch wasn't really evil. She just was like, this is serious. If I do this, there will be a price. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. Then there was A Guide for Working Breeds by Veena May Prasad. This was kind of cute in that it was about robots and robot mentorship and robots being obsessed with dogs. So there's an assassin robot who's bought himself out of his contract. But part of the deal is that he has to mentor other robots, and he meets this other robot who's completely different. And yeah, it ends up being this really sweet, like, robot friendship, love story type thing. It's really quite cute. Then there was Open House on Haunted Hill by John Wiswell. This was a kind of sweet ghost story, haunted house story, in that the house really wants someone to come and live there because the house is starting to lose power because no one's lived there for a long time. And so it's like the open home in which people are coming through, and the house is, trying to show itself to its best ability. And it meets this man and his daughter who have just lost the wife mother, and they're looking for somewhere new. And the guy's not sure, but the daughter likes the place. Yeah, it's kind of sweet, really. Sweet, a little bit spooky, but sweet, like haunted houses that are nice. Then there was Little Free Library by Naomi Critzer, which was also kind of sweet, in which the main character moves into a new house, decides to make themselves a free library to put, and puts books in it and everything. And then starts getting these weird items in return for the books, and then starts getting notes, and it's like, it ends up being that it's like a, I don't know if it's an elf or a fae or some sort of magical creature who's trying to support their princess, queen, something or other against enemies, and ends up using the little free library to gain knowledge to try and win. And when it doesn't work, there's an extra special package that ends up being delivered, but also very sweet. Then I read another new Pride and Prejudice variation, which is A Bennet of Royal Blood by Sharna Granitson, in which Lizzie is in fact the hidden daughter of one of George III's sons. There's this huge tragic backstory and the discovery when she's old enough to understand, and yeah, it was very melodramatic, but very enjoyable. I quite enjoyed it. And then I read the newest of Gail Carriger's Parasol Verse, which came out this year, which is a new delightfully deadly novella, and it was called Ambush or Adore. And this is the romantic story of Agatha Wiswell from the Finishing School books, because the delightfully deadly novellas are the ones that sort of describe the future romantic shenanigans of the various girls at the Finishing School when they're adults. And so this is the romance between Agatha Wismos and what's his name? I want to say, I can't remember his name. The brother of one of the other girls from that. The names have just gone from my head. But yeah, it's Agatha's romance, but it happens over like the entire timeline and kind of drops in and out of all the other books in the Parasol verse. Yeah, so it's kind of a sweet, told mostly through flashback romance that finally comes into being, in sort of middle to late age. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I always enjoy the Parasol verse. You know me. But yes, so that was the 13 things I read. I read 3 things by people of colour, and I read 3 queer things, so that's good for my goals. I haven't actually checked where I am with my goals, but, that's a nice little addition to them, so I should probably check where they're up to. I've already been on a bit of a reading binge so far in November, so that's great. Pretty much everything I've read so far in November is Miss Fisher. So it's not anything new, it's not anything useful for my goals, but that's just the way it is. But yeah, as usual, if you want to talk about the books, tackle me in the comments below, and I'll see you all again really soon. Bye.